Okay, so when it's done, it says process completed. Press OK, and now you're going to be internal. So you can go back and you can verify a few, but as that main thing will be like, if you're onto manual, you close, go to function, and then into the white balance, that'll be the one that you want to set. You want to make sure it sets onto automatic. If you go different places into the studio, it will automatic will do a good job. If you go outside, then you can change whatever you need to have. But for us, that's perfectly set. So close that, go back to function. The other one is just that you have the record. If you click on this, you have the program auto exposure. That is probably the one that you want to use. Some people might choose the EV, which is the aperture. We're not going to go into that too much detail, but just to show you what I mean by that, if you click onto the EV, those who understand the f-stop, this is what you can actually just choose and select and try that out. So if I go in here, that's like, I'm going to remove that's the microphone. So therefore, if you go in here and just click and drag, you'll see that if I go a little bit further, it will make it like more in focus, but it's going to make it really dark usually. In this case, we have a lot of light. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to go back. I'm not going to set that up. I go to program. We'll do that later on. So that's one you want to check to make sure that it's not messed up. You have also your microphone levels. So if you go in here, you have automatic audio level indicator. I would highly recommend you guys put that on. Come on. Because the reason why is that as I'm speaking now, you can see if the audio is actually working. So if you look at the bottom over here, you can actually see. And that's a good indication that you get some good audio. You can always put some microphone inside the actual kind of little, I'll show you over here, it's a little red over here. You can put an external mic, okay? Now afterwards, go back, and if you can want to see what is the other settings, you have other settings that you can play. For us now, we don't need any more than that. So I would say, in this case, that camera is set. So I see the audio is working, this is auto, I have about 60 minutes to record. Now this is set to SP. So let's go back to over here, and let's go back to menu. And then what I mean by that is if you go to this one, the second one, in this case it's like record media to movies, that's what it is. Recording mode, that's the fourth option. Okay, so if you click onto this, you have all those settings. The more you go to the left, the better quality there is, 7 megabytes per second. And you have to be careful, we'll talk about this into the classroom, but just to show you that if I go to this one, 12 megapixels, and then it's like 17 megabits per second, I mean, and then you have this one. So SD is pretty good quality so far. And if you go back, you have also the frame rate. As you can see, this one is set up to 60 frames per second. So if I go back to here, I don't want to use 60 frames per second. We don't need that for what we're doing. We want to do the 30 frames per second. Takes a little while. Then you have that. Why the FPF24 since we are there? That's the movie settings, okay? And we'll talk about this again into the classroom. So that would be the setup that I like, okay? So I go back to the frames per second, record media to the built-in memory, and simultaneous, if I would have some SD card, that's what it would be. So if you go back to the video and you set it up, and now just a recap on this, you actually start the camera, you put it onto the manual mode, okay, which is this guy over here. Put in manual, and afterwards you go to the function. The first thing, you go to the menu, and then you actually go to the third menu in here to make sure that you do format the memory, which Canon in this particular camera, they call it initialize. After you've done that, you make sure that you have enough memory, you have enough battery, and you go to the settings, like in this case, like you want to record at the mode of SP for us. And then the other one is just that you want to make sure that the white balance is set correctly, and after that you have your mic level, and then you're probably good to go. So the next video now that you have your footage is that how do you get this thing out of the camera and onto your computer.